that helping one another in doing good. This hadith is by Abu Musa al-Ash'ari radiyallahu anhu, عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال: الخازن المسلم الأمين الذي ينفذ ما أمر به فيعطيه كاملا موفرا طيبا به نفسه فيدفعه إلى الذي أمر له به أحد المتصدقين. Abu Musa al-Ash'ari radiyallahu anhu, he narrates that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that a trustworthy Muslim treasurer who carries out what he is instructed to do. So, what type of treasurer? A person who is a Muslim and a trustworthy one. He carries out what he is instructed to do, and he gladly gives it to the person whom he was ordered to give. What about this person? He shall be recorded among those who gave charity as well. Another narration, who gives what he is ordered to give. So one is, the wording was, gladly gives to the person whom he was ordered to give, and the other is who gives what he is ordered to give. Regardless, connected to this chapter, because we are talking about a person, khazin, a treasurer. Many times, people who are given this position, they hold back, right? Sometimes they could be miserly. You know how we might have come to these situations where we're dealing with someone who is being cheap with other people's stuff, right? It's like, why are you being cheap? You know, you're not. It's not even your own. It's not even coming from your pocket, right? So this is the type of person we're talking about. It could be. In this situation, the Prophet ﷺ is encouraging that person, whoever has been given this authority to distribute wealth. In this situation, the example that the Prophet ﷺ is giving is of the khazin, the treasurer, who is given that responsibility, that this wealth has been given as a sadaqah, as a zakah, whatever it may be. Now it's your job to distribute it. The Prophet ﷺ is saying is that this person, if he does his job correctly and gives out what is to be given and gives it happily, they will also get the reward for the charity. Now, right, this is explaining this chapter's title that we were talking about, helping, right, in doing good. This person, why should they be rewarded for giving the charity? They're not. It's not their own money, but because they have also taken part in that action, the Prophet ﷺ is saying, and this is also an encouragement for the khazins or people who are in this position, that do not hold back, give gladly, because you will also be part of that reward. You will also be rewarded the same for the charity that the other person gave. Not only are they getting the reward, you are also getting that same reward. And of course, the reminder over here is that a person in this situation, right, it is very easy to be tempted by shaitan and end up in deceit or cheating. And unfortunately, in our systems all around the world, it is very common. This is not directly connected to this ta'awan of helping one another, but it is part of the khazin being al-amin, being trustworthy. Right? In many systems nowadays, there's a lot of cheating. There's a lot of cutting corners, taking a little bit from here and there, and it carries on. And who gets hurt? Not the bigger people, not the people who are at the top or in the middle. It's the bottom. I'll give you an example. I'm not going to mention the country, but one of my close friends from one country, he was talking about how the higher ups, many of them are actually very wealthy and they're very nice as well. Right? Now, what happens is they pay their underlings properly because they are trustworthy and they are also wealthy, and they can afford to. What they do is they'll give a fancy amount, a good amount, but of course because they're higher ups, they're of nobility, they're of status, whatever it is, they're in their palace, for example. They give out that money. They're not going to go and give it to their employees themselves. They give it to their their assistant or whoever is taking care of all the affairs. For example, he says, okay, I'm going to give you 100,000, you distribute this amongst the workers. Right? The guy who receives the 100,000, he's the manager. He gives it to the supervisor. He says, this higher up, he gave 50,000, you go and distribute the 50,000. And then that guy says, the prince or the king, whatever, he sent 25,000 for the workers, you distribute it. By the time it gets to the bottom, they're getting pennies, right? This doesn't happen only back home or in other countries. It happens over here too, in our systems as well. This cheating and deceiving, right? So this was just a side point. It's not connected to the actual chapter, but because the Prophet ﷺ mentioned Ameen, right, being trustworthy, this is a core characteristic and a core adab, and something every believer should have. The Prophet ﷺ, before even getting nubuwah, he was known as Al-Amin. One of his first qualities that were well known throughout Arabia was that he was trustworthy. This is one of the characteristics of the Prophet ﷺ. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make our ummah from the Amin as well. Ameen wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك اللهم أنت السلام ومنك السلام وتبارك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه اللهم أجرنا من النار اللهم أجرنا من خزي الدنيا وعذاب الآخرة اللهم قنا عذاب القبر وقنا عذاب الحشر وقنا فتنة المسيح الدجال لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إنا كنا من الظالمين اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم انصر المسلمين في كل مكان اللهم انصر إخواننا في فلسطين اللهم حرر المسجد الأقصى اللهم حرر المسجد الأقصى اللهم حرر المسجد الأقصى اللهم احفظ حرمين الشريفين اللهم إنا نسألك من خير ما سألك منه نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ونعوذ بك من شر ما استعاذ منه نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وأنت المستعان وعليك البلاغ ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين الحمد لله رب العالمين